Hey guys, this is Eric Broadus back again with another video, and today's topic, what I want to talk about is, this video is going to be called Breaking Paradigms and Stereotypes. And how this conversation, how this topic came about is based on a true story of an experience that I had in a conversation that I had with a Korean national, young lady that was in Korea, and she was a bar owner. She owned a spot called, and at the time it was called AHOP. You know, it's a combination of a mimic of, say, IHOP, but on the top floor you have the restaurant, but then on the bottom floor you have a club with a DJ. And one of my close friends at the time, we were stationed in South Korea together, he was a DJ. But here's where I'm going with this. What happened is that she asked me a question about pertaining to African Americans, and she said that she had noticed that, and this is not racist or anything like that. This is a basic conversation, nothing racist. But she said that African Americans, you know, say in particular, say African American men, and say between, say, white American men, that African American men tend to be a bit more flashy or dress a bit more stylish. And what happened, she actually asked me, you know, saying, why is that? And so as I began to explain to her, she had other questions about the African American community. Her perception was based upon what she saw on TV, because if they have cable over there too, so they see BET and American media. And so oftentimes the American media, they promote this particular stereotype of different races or ethnic groups. And so what happened is that I began to explain it, because some of the questions that she had asked, you know, at first it started off, it was okay, but then she kind of started going into these particular beliefs about African American women, and I guess you would say maybe more the poorer communities in the African American urban centers, you know, but the stereotype that's promoted through American media. And so what I explained to her was that with the underclass of the African American community, I said it's a stereotype. I said, now, me growing up in the projects or in the hood, I said a lot of times with poorer people, sometimes they may dress up, or they may wear certain types of items that are expensive so that they can kind of, I guess, kind of show that they have something, or that they have some type of status, you know. And you often find that in African American or urban communities that are with the lower classes, that they want to project status. And I explained to her that everybody, regardless of who they are, as human beings, we all want to feel good. You know, everybody wants somebody in their corner, or wants somebody to cheer for them, or wants somebody to uplift them. And so what I explained to her is that I said in the urban ghettos, or in the ghettos period, whether they're rural or urban, what happens is that I said in these places, I said the people may not have the same economic opportunities, educational opportunities, and their opportunities, you know, are limited. And many times in these communities, if your finances is not right, it's very easy to get depressed or have a feeling or sense of hopelessness. And so when I explained it, I said that's part of it. That's part of it. But in the African American community in particular, the value system for the underclass is status oriented. So that means that if the guys got to make sure that their tennis shoes, or they have to have the flashiest cars, and those are for different reasons, you know, to pull the women, you know. So having, you know, access or being adorned by lots of women, you know, that is status for that male. So oftentimes in the African American, with the underclass, and it's not just African Americans, but stay with me here, but it's a sign of status. So if they have a certain watch or something like that, many times you will see that African American men, they wear like flashy watches, or it's got to be name brand. For the women, they may wear Gucci, Prada, but in terms of their actual income and where they are socially, economically, they're not, on the higher rungs of the chain. And what I explained to her is that they do this for status so that they can feel good about themselves. It's an expression. The African American community, it is very expressive, and that right there is displayed. You can tell through our music. African Americans are definitely some of the most creative people, but I believe that African Americans have definitely been blessed with soul and with style, and it's just the way that we expressed ourselves. And so she began to go on kind of like this tangent and speaking in some ways that were believing negative stereotypes of the African American community based on what she sees on TV. And what I had to slow her down. I said, hey, slow down, lady. Wait a minute. I said, everything that you see on the media or American TV is not true. She wanted to know about as far as like why there's so many, I guess, single African American mothers and in our communities, and some of the negative stereotypes were that, I guess, believing that African American women in these urban ghettos at all are thoughts, and that they're not respectable ladies. And I had to, at that point, I had to slow her down. And what I said to her, I said, hold on. I said, let me explain something to you. I said, don't believe everything that you see on American media, because oftentimes the American media, what they'll do, they'll promote a particular stereotype, because what it does, it drives up ratings, and it's a storyline that people want to see. In most cases, people love to see some type of action or some type of drama. And so the stereotype that's often played out in the news or the media, many times it depicts African Americans doing negative things, or the particular underclass that's doing negative things may get the most attention. So people can have this perception that all African Americans are thieves, that they're gangbangers, they rob, they steal. All black men have been in jail. They're murderers. All these negative stereotypes. The women, they're not respectable. They're no good. They're all single mothers. And I explained to her that's not true. I said many in the ghettos, in the underclass, says a lot of those women, are respectable, but they just, may have had unfortunate circumstances, and whatever happened in their relationships to the father, whatever like that, maybe it didn't work out, or maybe he may have gotten locked up, maybe he may have gotten killed. And so often these African American women in the underclass, they have to basically be a lot stronger, say maybe more so than their typical counterparts who are more in patriarchal communities, whereas the African American community, it is more of a matriarchal, and they have to be really a bit stronger because of that, because they don't have the same patriarchal family dynamic, but I explained to her, don't believe that, there are people, countless, African Americans that have worked hard and went on to get their education, or they went on to be successful in various fields, and they made it out of the underclass. Many have made it into the middle class. I mean, I could look at some of the people from my area that I grew up in. Many have gone on as adults. Right now, they're doing very well. Some are business owners. Some are on their way to retiring. Many are college educated. Some have moved on to a second career. So the stereotypes and paradigms, they are not to be believed about any group or race or ethnic people, because I've seen ratchet chicks, or ratchet people in every race, everywhere I've been to, whether every state in America, every foreign country I've been to, I have seen their underclass, and they basically share the same values. They share the same values, have the have similar behavior. The only difference is basically the color of their skin, and that they're just in a different country or a different location. So these stereotypes are not true, and I had to explain it to her. I said all black men are not rapists. You know, they are not murderers. They're not gangbangers. I said many are productive. I said all African American men have not been to prison, you know, or to jail. Now, granted, yes, sure, there are, you know what I'm saying, obviously, in our community, we do have represent the largest number of those that have been in jail or do have felonies. But I said, you know, that's not all, you know, and you don't know that, you don't know this unless you actually are in these communities, or unless you get to know people. Don't be so quick to judge from the outside, because at that time she'd never been to America before. Now, the strange part about it is that she had these ideas or perceptions of African Americans and African American men. But one of my friends, that was a DJ, she wanted him as a DJ because she believed the stereotype that based on the music that African Americans produce, that black guys would make better DJs, and that, again, you know, is not necessarily true. It's about the individual, and I explained to her, it's about the individual. If you go to any group of people, anywhere you go, you're going to find the same types of people. People are people no matter where you go. The only difference is they may look different on the outside, but on the inside, they're the same. You know, they have the same mindset or mentality, and they share the same values, attitudes, and exhibit the same, basically, cultural behaviors. There may be a bit of a different spin on a ratchet, you know, a little bit from Japan to, say, what's in the urban ghettos in America, or the rural South, or if you want to say what's considered white trash. But basically, their behaviors are the same. They participate in this, display the same type of behaviors, and just because individuals are poor or say lower class does not mean that they're bad people. You know, some are hard working people, and they're going about their business and making it happen for themselves at the level that they're on. Some, you know, are working to get out of the ghettos, or if you want to say where the trailer parks or whatever like that. And it's the same worldwide. And what I discovered when I explained to her is that the different countries that I've been to, what I found and realized was that regardless of race or ethnic background or skin color, as human beings, we actually have more in common than we do differences. And my breakthrough came when I first left the States back in '90, and I went to Europe. When I went to Europe, you know, I saw Pookies or Ray Rays or thugs. That the only difference was they were just a different nationality and different skin color. And likewise, I've also seen some of the best, you know, in African Americans and in other races in different countries as well. So stereotypes and paradigms, you can't always, you know, go by that, because that doesn't tell the true story. Sure, there's going to be some people in any race or group that's going to fit a particular stereotype or narrative, but that's not all. And many times once you get into these other communities, you'll find that people are people, and there's good and bad, just like in anywhere else. People are individuals, and even if just because they're poor or in the underclass does not make them bad people. You have to judge a person by the content of their character and who they are, you know, versus judging them and making a preconceived notion or prejudice because they look a certain way. You know, that's deceptive, and I think that it's unfair to any individual. And granted, you know, we all have our individual biases and things like that, but we as individuals need to, it takes work, and we need to break those. And for some of us, it's easier to break those stereotypes about other people and paradigms about others, you know, and some it may be a bit more difficult. The more exposure that an individual gets, what happens, it broadens their horizons, and they begin to see things differently, because the world is a bigger place. If you just basically stay in your one corner where you're from, you stay around just a certain group of people, then of course you're going to have this certain perception and faulty belief about them, because you haven't gone outside of your comfort zone. You haven't met people that look different from you. But people are the same. And you know, I explained it to us that all black women are not, they're not whores, they're not thots, you know, they are not, you know, reckless. Many, you know, are very good mothers, you know, saying make good wives. You know, granted, is there some that are ratchet? Sure, there's some that are ratchet, but some, you know, people, African Americans are people just like anybody else, and just like any other group of people. We deserve, you know, a fair shake. We deserve to be judged by our character and not by the color of our skin and what we look like and what the media says that we are. You know, and I had just some quick notes. If you think that having stereotypes and biases against people can't be dangerous, if they get into the wrong hands or the wrong people's minds, it can be dangerous. One example is the New Zealand attacks that happened, you know, on those Muslims, you know, innocent people and bystanders, but you had, I guess, a white nationalist or a white supremacist that had these ideas and false conceptions. All Muslims or Arabs are not terrorists. That is an unfair judgment. I have been in the Middle East at least 6 times, and I have met, you know, been with Arabs and have been with them up close and personal. They are individuals and people just like anybody else, and they should not be misrepresented. But you know, that's another bad example of a faulty belief system that this one individual had, and they went basically on a killing spree. Now, would that be fair to say that, you know, all you know, white males, you know, are nationalists or white supremacists? No, that's a lie. You know, that's just one or the few individuals that do bad things, and what happens is that the whole group gets bashed, or they get labeled, you know, with a stereotype, or because of what a few individuals do. You know, all you know, Caucasians are not, you know what I'm saying, in the KKK or are not Nazis. You know, and whether those that are, that right there is, that's their choice. That's what they believe. I'm not, you know, saying knocking yay or nay. All I'm doing is just basically stating a point, you know, and about, you know, saying breaking the paradigms and the stereotypes. You have to get to know an individual, you know, before you can judge them. Another example, how stereotypes can go wrong if in the minds of wrong people is that attack by white supremacists at that Jewish synagogue. Innocent people getting hurt and killed just because of an individual that had a faulty belief system. They believe a particular stereotype or a particular narrative about individuals that they don't even know, but a faulty belief system. And on top of that, you know, our leader in the United States, to me, he fails to speak up, you know, on these issues. And, you know, by being silent about it, by being silent on it, it's like it's being condoned. But he needs to stand up and speak out against it, you know. And we as individuals, you know what I'm saying, whether you're in America or anywhere else, you know, we need to break our paradigms and give people a fair chance. Don't judge people just because they look different from you, or maybe their religious beliefs are different from you. You know, give people, you know what I'm saying, a fair chance, because none of us like being stereotyped or put in a particular box or a negative characterization. None of us like that. You know, it's no fun having a negative label on you and you've done nothing wrong. It's not right. So again, the name of this this topic was called Breaking Paradigms and Stereotypes. And this is no offense to anyone, but you know, with the state of affairs that's going on in America and even worldwide, you know, People need probably maybe a lesson in, I got the name of it, but maybe they need a lesson in ethics. You know what I'm saying? Ethics or cultural sensitivities. To be with, what I'm saying, and be around and learn about others that are different from themselves. Every human being has value. Every human being has value, and just because of the color of their skin or because they look different does not mean that they should be devoured, or because they are in a different socio-economic status does not mean that they are any less valuable. No one person is better than the other. We just all have different circumstances, and some of us have been more fortunate than others. But we should not misjudge or mischaracterize people based on what they look. Get to know a person before you judge them. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Please, guys, like the video, unlike the video, subscribe to my channel, please, and also share it. And for those that are subscribed or that's going to subscribe, please tap the bell so you can get the videos that are being created, coming out. But this way is me, Eric Broadus, YouTube, and thank you guys for your time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.